very iconic. Unlike your GM. What do you think? Hey, you thought Emily was going to soften me up a little when? Okay, pot twist. She's Howie's daughter. Only LJ could bring some. Only LJ could do something like that for me there. Okay. All right. Sills, what time is the the ferry? What are you talking about? The Philly Godfather's 5:30. 5:30. Hey, I'm going to go over this list with you guys now, okay? I want to go over this list with you. I went over it with Tone. I want to go over it with you. And looking at free agents. Look, I do not believe you guys are going to be looking at somebody like Chris Jones. I do not. Would you spend the money on Josh Allen, Jacksonville? $21.7 million. 26 years old. Would you not only spend the money, but would you surrender your first-round draft choice for that guy? Let's watch and see how many idiots we have in here because you're under the impression that your general manager is a good drafter when it comes to edge rushers. Name me an edge rusher he's drafted. That's been great. Josh Sweat. Okay, you got one in 20 years. Okay? Gator Boy goes like this. How he won't. This is where he falls into a mistake. Don't you get it? Here's his fault. He'd rather draft a guy and be wrong on a guy. And Tone, this is what we talked about with the economics. Instead of settling the position down for a couple of years with a veteran guy who's good and spending the money, he would rather take a shot and a miss and then financially have to sign a guy to big money to put him in there and play him. If you had drafted, respectfully at defensive end, you wouldn't have had to pay Hassan Reddick. Okay? You wouldn't have had to pay Hassan Reddick $15 million. You wouldn't have. You could have put more of that economics back into your defense. But like Tone says, Sills, do you really think he would do that? Probably not. This is why you can't maintain success. He traded 17 for AJ. It's offense. It's what the owner wanted, Yale. The owner wants offense. Look, again, figure out what happened here. The Kansas City Chiefs traded away the greatest deep threat in NFL history next to Randy Moss and Tyreek Hill to improve their defense. Do you think that's a smart move or not? Do you guys think that's a smart move? Trading away the greatest deep threat next to Randy Moss in NFL history. Okay? Troy says no. They won a Super Bowl. They retooled their defense in the last 2 years. And Troy thinks that's a bad idea. So does MG2. How does winning a Super Bowl and improving your defense, trading Tyreek Hill away, not a good idea? How do you look at that? How do you look at improving your defense, making it a top 10, and in the last 2 years since he's not been there, you won a Super Bowl? How is that not a good deal? Because they suck now? They don't suck. They're a playoff team. They're not as... Look, because they suck now? No. That football team has gone to 5 straight AFC championships. They're not going to suck next year. Okay? Dan, what would you do to fix this and compete for a ring? You can't fix this. This now, 85 circumstances around him can make it more attainable. Someone gets hurt in the opening wild card games. You win a wild card game. Purdy gets hurt again. I take my chances against Sam Darnold. They're not going to beat you with Sam Darnold. I don't think so. And you could win a divisional game and get yourself in the NFC Championship game, and you probably have to go to Dallas to do it. I don't know. You're 1-1 versus the Cowboys this year. Let's see if the Cowboys don't have a collar around their throat. Remember something. When it comes to Dallas, the closer they get to Las Vegas, the more the sphincter muscle will start to pucker up. Remember that with Dallas. That's one thing that I will give the Eagles a lot of love for here. If the Eagles get close to the NFC Championship game, they're not going to pucker up. Your coaches might. Okay? Look, again, go back into your 17 run. Just remember something in your 17 run, okay? What happened in your 17 run? You had a lot of external things happen that put you in a good position to get to that Super Bowl. And when you got there, Foles played out of his mind. Foles was as good a Super Bowl quarterback as anybody that's ever played in that game. I would put Nick Foles's, would we not agree? I would put Nick Foles's performance in that game up there with some of Montana's, Brady's, Bradshaw, Elway's. No, not Elway, because I don't think Elway was exceptional in the games he won. I would put Foles in the conversation as one of the greatest performances in Super Bowl. Kurt Warner had a great one. It would be up there with one of the greatest performances of all time when it came to a quarterback who won that game. One of the greatest of all time. Tremendous performance. Tremendous. The guy played out of his skull. All right. How about would Howie go? Hey, now it's funny Tone says this to me. Okay, well, didn't Howie Roseman go after a corner in a trade with the Lions to get Darius Slay? So he has made a trade to get a corner, right? Why wouldn't you trade for Jalen Johnson to Chicago? Chicago's going to want a one for him because his price tag did go up. I told you to get him at the trading deadline. You guys didn't want him. Remember I told you that? Okay? Yeah, he definitely can't draft one, so trade for one. Right. But this is where, now, Tone says that, but Tone knows this. But his ego's going to still draft one. So it's kind of counterproductive what we're even saying here. Because unless you have a philosophical change, but he has traded for Darius Slay. So he has compromised his approach at certain positions. Corner's one of them. So there's a chance he would make a trade here. I think he was really in the sweepstakes to try to get the kid from Denver. But they wanted a lot. And they should want a lot for Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is one of the best cover corners in the league. Okay? Dan, could you see Al Harris being our DC next year? No. I don't think Minnesota will move off of Brian Flores. I'd love to have him. I think Raheem's going to get a shot at being a head coach. I don't think Dan Quinn's going to go anywhere. I don't think San Francisco is going to get rid of Steve Wilkes. And Aaron Glenn in Detroit, I think his contract is up. And I think he's done a nice job with that Lions defense. So Aaron Glenn, I don't know, could be somebody there. But again, that's not the MO of the Eagles. You're talking, guys, about people that are outside the building. They like to elevate from in because they know the culture inside the building. He asked about Brian Burns before Tepper extended him. Yeah, but he's a free agent now. He's 25. He makes 21.7, and he's a free agent. You can't draft him. I'd give you the 25th pick for Brian Burns. Shit, man. The Rams were told that Carolina wants 2-1s for him. Carolina's not getting 2-1s for Brian Burns. You might get a 1, a 2, and a 3 for him. He's that good. Brian Burns is going to be traded because Carolina needs draft choices. They need picks because them moving up to get the quarterback. And here's the problem. David Tepper he's so obnoxiously involved in day-to-day football operations and decision makings that I don't think you can succeed there with him. So you have to manage him if you take that job. If you take the Carolina GM job or the Carolina head coaching job, just be prepared to be fired in 2 years or maybe even at the end of a particular year. This guy has the patience of a stock trader. And see, he's a stock trader. He's not a long-term investment guy that invests in annuities. You know what you do when you invest in annuities? And I worked on Wall Street. When you're an investment and you put a portfolio together, you usually put about 60% of your portfolio when it comes to annuities and things that will mature in either 5, 10, or 20 or 25 years. They're called, it's security of your portfolio. Then you have a percentage that's in your portfolio where you're going to do day-to-day stock trading if you want to do that. So if you do that, you're risking 10% of your portfolio or 15% of your portfolio. That's not going to be catastrophic. The people that go out and are day traders, they want to go to the people that have long-term investment. That's not who they want. They don't like long-term investment. David Tepper is a hedge fund. Hedge funds are not for long-term. They're short-term investments. It's turnover. They want turnover stocks immediately. They don't want to go into Waste Management. They don't want to go into Sara Lee. They don't want to go into Intel Z. They don't want to go into stocks like that. The safest and the greatest stock on the planet is Waste Management. Why? You've got to throw the trash away. It's recession proof. Always remember, Waste Management's the greatest stock you could ever be in. You got to throw your trash away. Whether it's a poor economy or a great economy, doesn't matter. Okay? Right? It doesn't matter. It's the most non-volatile stock you could trade for. And Sara Lee's a great stock because why? You got phenomenal management at Sara Lee. You got Nabisco, you got all that stuff in there. All those people are great executives. You know, I mean, tremendous executives are at Sara Lee. Many of the people that come out of the Carnegie School of Business, and Wharton all go to Sara Lee, and they have a school themselves. And what they do is many of those people go and run other Fortune 500 companies like Pepsi or PepsiCo. It's a great company. Okay. General Electric is a really good stock. But again, you got to remember it's volatile because they're so diverse in what they have with it. You know, my uncle has a ton of stock in General Electric, and it goes up and down like this because they're diverse. They don't just make toasters. They make weapons also. They're in the weapons department. They make a lot of things. They make engines for airliners. Okay? Hey, how about something here that we haven't talked about? How about a guy like, Tone's right about Patrick Queen. You're not going to look at a guy like Patrick Queen. But you will look at Devin White. Do you think this organization, and I ask you this, do you think this organization will change their opinion on how they value the linebacker position, seeing what they've seen this last year? Do you think they'll change their philosophy? How about this? You think Jeffrey Lurie will make them change their philosophy? Because doesn't it get to a point when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and it's a mistake? Doesn't Jeffrey Lurie parachute in and go, what are we doing here? As much as he loves and as much as he respects Howie, I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't he's already questioned him once in his history by firing him or demoting him. He's already done that once. So it's not beneath him to do it again. Wait a minute, James. Okay? Wait a minute. He's done that once already. He's done it once. He demoted him. Isn't it funny? Think about what they did. They treated Howie Roseman the same way they treated Sean Desai. They gave him another chair in the building and didn't want him to leave. Huh. Interesting. Desai got the Howie Roseman treatment. I wonder if they positioned it that way to him. Hey, I got demoted. It's not a big deal. We still want you here. We still think you're part of the organization. And I wonder if Howie positioned it that way to him. Right? Think about that, Yale. Maybe they had that conversation. Hey, listen here, Sean. I've been demoted. No one's asking you to leave. No one's telling you you're fired. We're just going to get a different voice here and maybe a different perspective. We don't want you to go. It sure looks the same. Okay? Dan, if the Bucs don't win Sunday plus a playoff game, the Glazers have a track record of being big-time game hunters when it comes to coaches and quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, is going to Tampa. Raymond, I think Cousins will be in Tampa. That's where I think he lands. I think he lands in Tampa. Okay? I think Jason Light will make that, and it's a $30 million probably number. $35 million. I think it's probably going to be somewhere $35 million. And, okay, and I think, you know what? And I think they're going to let Mike Evans roll. He's 30. They're not going to pay him $20 million. And I could see them going into the draft and drafting a running back, a wide receiver in the draft and getting one of the talented wide receivers coming out into the draft. And going that route and having Cousins as a starting quarterback. I think they'll move off of Mayfield because you can upgrade with if I can upgrade. Now, if I can't upgrade from Mayfield, I'll keep Mayfield and I'll pay him a couple extra $1 million. But if I can get Kirk Cousins, I'll bring Cousins in as a stopgap guy so that I can find my guy and let's see what happens. And if we happen to tank and suck, we'll get a high pick the following year because the Buccaneers, remember, they're paying bills now. What makes what the Rams are doing is insane because the Rams also push their chips in and they're still paying bills for their Super Bowl. The Bucs are paying bills for their Super Bowl right now because they all ran it back. Well, when you run it back, what happens when you run it back? You run those contracts back. You understand that. When you run something back, it's not just about the players coming back. It's running those contracts back, which means you got to eventually, it's like taking a loan out. There's a higher interest rate, and the Bucs are paying that interest rate out now. And that's why they've wobbled in that roster, and that's why they can't re-sign Devin White. They're not going to be able to re-sign Antonio Winfield Jr., in my opinion. I don't think they will. Hey, Peter, Todd Monken, in my opinion, I think he's got to be one of the hottest commodities to be a head football coach in what he's done with Lamar. I think you're going to see Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator that works down in there with Miami with the head coach, who I really like, the offensive coordinator. Look what he's done with Tua. Thomas Brown, Carolina Panthers. I think he's good. I think he's just in a shitty situation with David Tepper. Now, Brian Schottenheimer is working in Dallas with Dak Prescott, and he's working with Mike McCarthy. You know, Brian Schottenheimer has done a really nice job behind the scene working with Dak. Dak's had a really great year. Brian Schottenheimer should absolutely get some love for what he's done with Dak this year. It's not just been Mike McCarthy. It's been Brian Schottenheimer, too, that's been involved in that. Kellen Moore, I'm not a fan of. You know, his name's being thrown around as a potential head. I mean, Justin Herbert got worse. That got better. How could that be a positive for you to potentially get a head coaching job? Okay. I mean, how can that possibly be? Where you look at Kellen Moore and go, hey, Kellen Moore's he's a great potential candidate to be a head coach. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Justin Herbert regressed and Dak Prescott got better. Okay. Sills, Lions should be the second seed. Are they the second best team in the NFC? Cowboys should have lost that game for sure. The league and Dan Campbell screwed that thing up. Can Dallas go to Detroit? No, that game would be in Dallas. Because the only place that Dallas can't play would be in San Francisco, because San Francisco's got home field. Dallas is assured as of right now, if they win that Washington game, they're assured of having 2 home games. Okay? They're assured of 2 home games. Okay? Seals, will any team trade with the Bears for Caleb Williams? I think that's a great decision. Do you stick with Justin Fields? You know, I'm going to say this to you. Tone and everybody, I don't know how you guys look at Justin Fields. But I got to tell you guys, I like the kid. I'm starting to come around on him. I think he works hard. I don't, there's something that makes me not want to quit on him. I just don't know if, I think the Bears bring him back with a different head coach. I think he deserves another shot. I like the guy too, Tone. You get this. If Chicago brings Justin Fields back, I want a different coach with him. I'd love to see a guy like Todd Monken coaching him. Okay? I don't think Eberflus is their biggest problem. But see, again, but here, Tone, here's the problem that they have. Name me a quarterback that's played in Chicago in the last 70 years where you went, wow, they know how to develop quarterbacks. Who, Jim McMahon? Name me one. The kid that took him to the Super Bowl, Rex Grossman? Name me one guy. You know, at the beginning of the year, I'm like, you got to move off the guy. But as he's played on, I'm like this. I don't know. Jay Cutler? Really? Jay Cutler is the best you can come up with in the last 70 years since Sid Luckman. I thought you didn't like dual threat. I don't, but he's in Chicago. They traded him or they drafted him. That's their choice. And if they drafted him, you should try to fit and do what they're doing in Baltimore to help him. I wouldn't have drafted him, but they did. I'm not talking about what I and who I would draft. Marshall, they drafted him. I'm talking about reality here. Why would you move off that guy? I think Caleb Williams is overrated. Personally, I think Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. And if I'm going to pick a quarterback, it's coming out of the draft, I'm going to take the kid from Washington because I like Michael Penix Jr. more than I like Caleb Williams. There's just something about Caleb Williams. I don't like Caleb Williams. I don't see it. He can't win big games. Just because you have a preference doesn't mean you can't acknowledge his talent. And that's, I know some people are just simple. They're right. They think because I said Chicago should keep him. I thought you don't like dual quarterbacks. I don't. I'll tell you what I do like, though, is 80 touchdowns and 100 first downs between Hurts and Allen. Now that I've heard that number, I won't lie to you. I actually like that number. Okay? I can work with that. I actually like that. That's an insane number. So Tone and I both went like this. So Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen this year have 80 total touchdowns combined and 100 first downs. Hey, man, I won't lie. I like that. 100 first downs between the two of them. I know, Big Marshall, it's all good, man. Tone, I don't know. I know the 37 turnovers. But wait a minute. 100 first downs. Whew, good night. 80 touchdowns. 37 turnovers. Yeah. Can I live with it? Can we get better next year to get the turnovers turned down a little bit? Let's turn the turnovers down a little bit. Man, you mean that guy's capable of giving me 66 to 70 first downs? Shit. I'm going to win a ton of games, man. Damn. Dude, if Jalen Hurts had 9 and Allen had 10 turnovers, it'd be a slam dunk between those two for MVP. It'd be a slam dunk. No one would be close, especially in a down year where no one's going to throw for 5,000 yards. Remember, those first downs are only run. Oh, my God. Think of that. These two dudes had 100 first downs only running the ball, and they're $50 million quarterbacks. Freaking unbelievable. Dude, that makes me like Hurts a lot. When I look at the guy and when I look at Hurts and I hear that and I'm like, he has 70 rushing touchdowns and almost 40 touchdowns, he has almost 70 first downs and 40 touchdowns. I didn't see that. That's impressive. I had no idea Hurts and Allen were having such similar seasons. He says I'm floored. Here's the thing. There's a chance. Think about this, Tone. There's a chance that both these quarterbacks, okay, because Allen has to play this weekend to win the East, and Hurts has to play. So both these guys could throw for 8,000 yards, okay, over 55 touchdowns passing, over 30 touchdowns rushing, okay, and over 100 rushing first downs. What are you taking? What's your takeaway on that? That's insane. 8,000 passing yards. Eight 8,000 passing yards and 80 touchdowns. Well, I know the turnovers are high, but shit, hey, you're wearing me out in a good way. 8,000 passing yards and 80 touchdowns total. And those guys aren't Pro Bowlers? I'll take that back on Stafford. Hey, I'll take that back on Stafford. Dude. And Josh Allen should be in the because get this. Personally, I think Josh Allen had a better season than Patrick Mahomes did. I don't think Patrick Mahomes had a better season than Josh Allen. But he got it in there because he's Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have a better season. And over 1,000 yards rushing between the two. That's freaking unbelievable, man. That is unbelievable. Wow. When you really dissect these guys' years, it's totally the shitty turnovers. But when you look at the production, it's off the charts. They're the most productive players in the league. Lamar's got to be up there too, but he's nowhere in that league. Dude, that guy there's not a chance Lamar Jackson is going to have 40 touchdowns. Am I wrong with that? Tone, is that right? Is he going to have 40 touchdowns? There's no way he's going to even have 20 touchdown passes. No way. Hurts is going to have 40 touchdowns total. Allen already has 42. There's not a chance. I would say that Lamar's probably hanging around 35 total touchdowns. Jackson has 29 TDs right now. So he's got 29 passing. No, he's got 29 total touchdowns. Think about that. 5 rushing, 24 passing. And Hurts and Allen, one's got 42, the other's got 38. Both are going to be over 40. And both are going to be over 4,000 passing. And combined, they're 1,000 yards rushing. Lamar? Really? Let me take a time out. Philly Godfather's going to join us. We're going to help you make some money. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect